Part 34. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 556. Xiangyang found two maids from somewhere and brought up a set of clean dresses and pajamas. Zhang Shuya couldn't explain that she had just taken a bath, so she could only let Xiao Jingzhao carry her into the bathtub. With the help of the two maids, Zhang Shuya had to bite the bullet and take another bath. Looking at the tall figure on the other side of the screen guarding outside motionlessly, Zhang Shuya felt indescribably moved. After bathing, Zhang Shuya quickly put on her pajamas, and Xiao Jingzhao asked, "Are you done?" "Yes, I'm done." Zhang Shuya walked out with her hair wrapped in a cotton towel. "Don't move." Xiao Jingzhao bent down and carried her sideways back to the dormitory. "Bear with it, this medicine won't leave scars, it may hurt a little." Xiao Jingzhao got a box of plaster from somewhere and applied it on her personally. The medicine had a faint fragrance, and it felt a little burning when it first touched the skin, and a moment later it felt cool. Zhang Shuya's skin was delicate and would turn red with a slight touch. Although the wound looked serious, she didn't feel much pain. "Zhao, when will we return to the capital?" Xiao Jingzhao put away the remaining medicine. "You are so injured. It's not too late to rest for a day before continuing on your journey." "I'm fine. It's just a little skin injury." "It's okay." Zhang Shuya raised her wrist and moved it. "I have asked Xiang Song to prepare a carriage. It takes a day to get to the capital. It's more comfortable to take a carriage. Have a good sleep after dinner." After a while, Xiangyang brought the food up. Looking at the 4 dishes and 1 soup on the table, Zhang Shuya suddenly remembered that there was a bowl of grain porridge in her space. While eating, the two talked about what happened after they separated. Zhang Shuya hadn't eaten for 2 days and 3 nights. It was not suitable for her to eat too much and greasy food at this time. She ate half a bowl of porridge in the space. At this moment, she ate some light dishes and drank half a bowl of soup before putting down her chopsticks. Xiao Jingzhao, like her, asked Xiangyang to take away the food before he ate much. Xiao Jingzhao carried Zhang Shuya back to the bed and then turned to wash up. Zhang Shuya was touched and amused. She was not injured, but he would not let her go. After washing up, Xiao Jingzhao took off his outer robe and came to the bed. He touched Zhang Shuya's hair that was not completely dry. He turned around and went to the bathroom to get a clean cotton towel and twisted her hair with his own hands. He didn't help Zhang Shuya lie down until he felt it was almost done. The black hair spread on one side of the pillow like a waterfall. "Don't think too much. I have asked Gao Mu and Ken Yun to go back to the capital first, so that your girl won't worry." Xiao Jingzhao pulled the thin quilt over the two of them and stretched out his hand to hold them in his arms. "You are still thoughtful. Kaiju must be worried at home. Sushui has no shortage of people to take care of her in the palace. Although Zhang Shuya misses him, she is not worried about him." Qiuju knew that she would have to keep her disappearance a secret from other people in the mansion, so it was easy to imagine how much pressure she was under. Zhang Shuya didn't feel sleepy at the moment. In order to let Xiao Jingzhao have a good sleep, she closed her eyes, with a lot of thoughts in her mind. After a while, listening to the even breathing of the people around her, Zhang Shuya also fell asleep. Xiang Song arranged the carriage and came back to see Xiangyang napping in the corridor. He glanced at the closed door and gently kicked Xiangyang with his foot. Xiangyang raised his head, rubbed his eyes, and lowered his voice, "Don't go in, the master has already fallen asleep." Xiang Song left a team of Jinyue soldiers to protect the emperor in the post house, and the rest of the people all received orders to return to the capital. Seeing that it was past noon, Xiang Song simply pointed to the next door, "Let's go to the house and wait." Xiang Song went in and lay down on the small couch with his clothes on. Xiang Yang. Why didn't he think of this? Looking around, he saw a few cushions on the armchair in the room. He was so sleepy that he took the cushion and laid down on the floor. Perhaps because she was frightened in the charity cemetery, Zhang Shuyu slept very unsteadily. In a daze, she crawled into Xiao Jingzhao's arms. The two of them slept in each other's arms. Xiao Jingzhao smelled the familiar body fragrance and slept until the end of the afternoon. That day, the two of them slept except for eating. Because she slept too much during the day, Zhang Shuyu suffered from insomnia at night. It was not until the second half of the night that she felt sleepy. When she woke up the next day, she was already in the carriage back to the capital. "Did you sleep unsteadily last night?" Xiao Jing leaned over and kissed her forehead. Zhang Shuyu didn't want Xiao Jingzhao to worry about her, so she shook her head gently. "No, I slept very well last night. With you by my side, I slept so soundly." Xiao Jingzhao gently stroked her cheek. "You Niang, can you live with me in the palace after you go back?" "No, there are still many things in the female medical school that I need to do in person, and I need to go to the clinic to see patients for half a day occasionally." After Yin Qiao went to Yan'an, Jishitang lost a capable assistant. Zhang Shuyu calculated that if she let go completely, it would take at least 5 years. She asked the female doctor to be more than just a midwife. Xiao Jingzhao also knew how busy she was, and it was not her character to live in the palace to enjoy a peaceful life. He looked at her with a doting look. "It's not enough for Gao Mu and Kang Yun to protect you. I will assign another team of dark guards to protect you in secret, which will not affect your life." Zhang Shuyu sat up from the soft couch. "This matter has nothing to do with Gao Mu and Kang. I asked them to do other things. I don't mean to blame them. There are too few people, and I am worried." Xiao Jingzhao took his coat from the wall of the carriage and helped Zhang Shuyu put it on. Then he lifted a corner of the curtain and told Xiang Song, "Find a place to eat in front, preferably a restaurant with an inn." "Master, there is a small town in front. There is no restaurant, but there is an inn, and you can buy food." Zhang Shuyu quickly took over the conversation. "Okay, as long as you can wash up." The carriage was very spacious. Zhang Shuyu asked Xiao Jingzhao to turn around and quickly change out of his pajamas and put on his dress. Then he used a hairpin to gather his ink-like hair behind his head. After a while, the carriage stopped in front of an inn in the middle of the town. The innkeeper saw a luxurious carriage parked in front of the door, followed by a team of guards. This posture showed that it was not an ordinary nobleman. "Do you want to stop by or stay overnight?" The innkeeper hurried forward to greet him respectfully. Xiang Song threw a silver ingot to the waiter beside the shopkeeper. "For dinner, ask for a room upstairs, prepare more hot water, and prepare a rich breakfast." The waiter took the silver and looked at the shopkeeper, who hurriedly said, "Go and prepare hot water for the upstairs." The waiter took the order and trotted in. Xiao Jingzhao helped Zhang Shuyu get off the carriage. The shopkeeper saw that the two had good temperaments, and hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. "Please go upstairs, my dear, I will prepare food right away." Xiao Jingzhao and Zhang Shuyu went upstairs, and the waiter quickly brought hot water. Zhang Shuyu came out of the bathroom, washed up, walked to the dressing table, sat down and combed her hair again. Xiao Jingzhao took out the ointment to help her apply the ointment, and he was relieved when he saw that the red and swollen areas had improved a lot. After a while, the waiter brought up tea and food. Seeing Xiao Jingzhao frowning slightly, the waiter bowed quickly. "Drink some porridge first, my lord. The buns and barbecue will be here soon." "Is there barbecue for sale here?" Zhang Shuyu was quite surprised. "Is it delivered here?" A familiar voice sounded outside the door. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 557. When the waiter heard the noise outside, he rushed to the door and shouted, "Sister-in-law of the Zhao family, your noble lady is here. Send her in quickly." At this time, a woman wearing a floral dress came in. The Zhao family's sister-in-law mentioned by the waiter was none other than Zhang Jiaojiao's maid Kayan. Seeing Zhang Shiyu, the tray in Kadian's hand shook. The person in front of me is still so bright and moving, their eyes meet each other, and the past comes to mind. It's you. Miss. Kadian quickly put down the tray in her hand and knelt down with a pop. Miss, I want to apologize to you. I was obsessed with you in the past and I did something that I'm sorry for. Please forgive me, miss. Xiao Jingzhao saw Zhang Shiyu frowning and said to the waiter, take her down and don't disturb my wife's meal. Forget it, it's all over, and she can't make the decision. Zhang Shiyu took out 2 silver coins from her sleeves and put them into the tray. The waiter took out the food on the tray with great discernment, and then handed the tray to Kadian. Sister-in-law of the Zhao family hastily thanked the nobleman for the reward. Kadian's tears instantly flowed down. She took the tray and put it next to her, and kowtowed to it with 3 bang 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 sounds. Thank you, miss, for the reward. Your magnanimity is something that I will never forget. When Kadian exited, she secretly glanced at Xiao Jingzhao next to Zhang Shiyu. She had never seen the emperor before, that man with dragon and phoenix looks and extraordinary bearing. At first glance, he was no ordinary person. The emperor did not reveal his identity, so Kadian naturally pretended not to know. She and Zhao Wu left the capital and went directly to a place 100 miles away, not far from Zhao Wu's hometown. The two bought a small courtyard in the town. In front of the small courtyard was the front room. The couple started selling barbecue in this small town. There were no more people in the town than in the capital, so it was easy to do business, and they could only make ends meet. Kadian is very clever, and besides selling barbecue, she also cooks other food. Zhao Wu has endless strength. He gets up early every day to grind soy milk, and Kadian makes tofu and sells tofu. The income is much more than just selling barbecue. After Kadian exited, the waiter smiled and said, sister-in-law from the Zhao family is really lucky to meet an old friend here. My lord, please try it while it's hot. The tofu puffs and barbecue she makes are delicious. Her family is the only one in our street who can make tofu puffs. Zhang Shiyu took out 2 silver coins from her sleeves and threw them to the waiter. The waiter had never received so much reward money, and he was so happy that he couldn't open his mouth from ear to ear. Thank you for the reward, noble man. Please use it with care. After the waiter exited, Xiao Jingzhao took Zhang Shiyu's hand and said, Yu Niang, you are so kind. Zhang Shiyu shook her head helplessly. She is a slave. Not only does the master ask her to do things, but she can't resist even if her life is taken. Good people will be rewarded eventually. Zhang Jiaojiao also suffered her retribution. Now she doesn't even know where to live where she went. It doesn't matter whether I hate her or not. Early in the morning, Zhang Shiyu had a bad appetite, and a plate of barbecue ended up in Xiang Song and Xiang Yang's stomachs. Xiao Jingzhao and Zhang Shiyu each drank a small bowl of porridge, and then each had a bowl of tofu curd. After the two had a meal, they continued on their way. Kadian stood on the side of the street and watched a group of people leaving in a mighty manner. She sighed and said, Qiuju is lucky. If she follows the right master, she will enjoy endless wealth and glory throughout her life. Zhao Wu saw her eyes were red and glanced at the retreating team. Do you recognize those noble people? Kadian smiled bitterly and shook her head. I don't recognize him, but I just saw the noble people passing by and thought of the people and things in the capital. In Zhang Mansion. The gloom on Qiuju's face disappeared. Yesterday, Gao Mu and Kang Yun rushed back to the capital. Qiuju felt relieved when she learned that the young lady was safe and sound. No one had a good sleep for several days. Gao Mu and Qiuju didn't get up until 3 o'clock in the morning. Even Lin Miaoxiao next door slept in for the first time. Du Wenru saw that he didn't get up until almost noon, and said worriedly, Husband, when Yun Niang comes back from Zhuangzi tomorrow, please ask her to prepare a health soup for you. Lin Miao stopped putting on her clothes. Madam, Are you complaining that your husband has neglected you because he has been busy with official duties these past few days? No, no, I am worried about your health, Du Wenru said with a blush on her cheeks. In the past few days, she saw Lin Miaoxiao going out early and coming back late, sometimes even staying up all night, and the tiredness on his face was clearly visible. She didn't expect that her caring words would turn her into a wife asking for sexual pleasure from her husband. Looking at his wife's shy look, Lin Miao's hands were filled with emotion. He put down the coat he had just put on his shoulders, reached out and pulled Du Wenru to sit on his lap. Wenru, I'm sorry, I've been thinking about other things these days, and I've really neglected you. Lin Miao put one hand around Du Wenru's shoulder and touched her belt with the other. Du Wenru put her hands around her husband's neck and leaned her head against him. We are husband and wife, and we should be considerate of each other. The Queen Mother will soon return to the palace to preside over the Emperor's wedding. There are so many apprentices in the Imperial Hospital. It is right for the husband to be busy with official duties, so there is no reason to be indifferent. With a wife like this, what more can a husband ask for? With the beautiful lady in her arms, Lin Miao's hand couldn't help but feel excited. His fingers touched his wife's belt and gave it a gentle squeeze. Du Wenru felt her belt loosen, and her cheeks were almost bleeding from embarrassment. She lightly hit Lin Miaoxiao's shoulder with her pink fist. She said coquettishly, Tuir is still in the outer room. We are already quite old, and we are still showing off our sex in the daytime. I am so embarrassed. Lin Miao turned his arms and Du Wenru lay on the bed. Lin Miao skillfully undressed and untied his wife, and when the two of them were honest with each other, he raised his hand and lowered the curtain. Who said we are old? A lady's youth is the time to be in her prime. Du Wenru was born into a noble family and was raised pampered. Her skin was fair and delicate, and her waist was as soft as a bone. Lin Miaoxiao had been widowed for many years. Looking at the jade bodies lying around in the tent, she could no longer hold back. He is not as rough and anxious as a young man. He is more like an old man tasting wine, savoring it carefully and slowly. When the person in his arms whispered softly, he became as crazy as if the old house was on fire. Kuya heard the movement in the outer room and couldn't help but secretly curse. The old lady also disliked her uncle for being too old, but she saw that he was no less energetic than the young man. She just muttered this to herself. She couldn't tell the old lady of the Du family what was going on in the room between her aunt and her uncle. My aunt and my aunt are inseparable and love each other so much that Tweety estimates that the two of them will not let go for half an hour. Gently close the door and go out to prepare hot water. In the courtyard next door, Meyer learned that the lady would go home today and prepared the ingredients that the lady loved to eat early. Lanner changed all the sheets and quilts into clean ones, and even the soft cushions where Schwetter often squatted were replaced. Qiuju went to the warehouse and took out a few red lanterns for the boy to hang at the entrance of Xingyu courtyard. Lanner saw it and said in confusion, Sister Qiuju, how can you hang up the lanterns for the new year if it's not the new year or the festival? Qiuju thinks that the red lantern will remove bad luck. She couldn't say this, so she pointed to the faded lantern under the eaves. It's all old, let's put on something new and bright. Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 558. Seeing that the sun was setting and the young lady had not returned yet, Kaiju was eager to wait for her, so she simply asked Gaomu and Kengyun to sit in the gatehouse and wait. Lanner warmed the tea on the stove and followed out. Xuanzi brought a long bench from the side hall for everyone to sit and chat. The gatehouse had never been so lively before. Gao Mu sat with Kaiju, while Kang Yun and Lanner sat on a long bench each. Xuanzi looked around and walked to Lanner and sat down. Lanner saw everyone looking at her, and moved aside embarrassedly. Gao Mu and Kang Yun pretended to know nothing, and Kaiju couldn't help laughing. Sister Kaiju, Lanner blushed. Then he nudged Xuanzi with his elbow. Brother Kang Yun is still available. Xuanzi grinned and said, don't be embarrassed, Lanner. Everyone knows our relationship. After the young lady gets married, I will tell her about our marriage. Lanner, you are wrong. You are about to get married and still hiding it from everyone. Kaiju raised her eyebrows and teased. Sister Kaiju, don't listen to his nonsense. It's too early. Sister Mayer hasn't gotten married yet. I'm not in a hurry. At this time, everyone's eyes turned to Kang Yun. Kang Yun. Who did I offend? Gao Mu was closest to Kang Yun. He patted Kang Yun on the shoulder and said, don't be in a hurry. After the young lady gets married, she will take Miss Mayer to the palace to be the head maid. The maid can only leave the palace and get married at the age of 25. Do you know that? Kang Yun, who was calm and composed a moment ago, sat up straight with a trace of panic on his face. Then he said firmly, no, the young lady has entered the palace, and this place also needs someone to take care of it. There are so many servants in the mansion, leaving more than 10 of them is enough. Kaiju's words were like adding fuel to the fire, burning Kang Yun's heart. If Mayer really went to the palace, they would have to wait for several years to get married. Mayer is only 16 years old this year. If she really went to the palace, she would have to wait for another 9 years. In another 9 years, Gao Mu's son will be able to help with soy sauce. No, he should have had several sons by then. Kang Yun secretly made a plan in his heart. He must ask the young lady for mercy before the young lady's wedding, so that the young lady would approve his marriage with Mayer in advance. As the few people were talking, the ear door creaked and Lin Miaoxiao walked in with a smile on her face. Uncle Lin, please come in, the young lady should be back soon. Kang Yun moved aside to make room. Lin Miaoxiao saw that several backbones in the mansion were gathered in the gatehouse, and walked in with a smile. He glanced at everyone. You didn't have dinner. Kaiju shook her head. No, it won't be too late to eat after the young lady comes home. Lin Miaoxiao glanced at Xuanzi and said, don't worry, we should be home before dark. Xuanzi always felt that everyone's expressions today were different from the past. After the female doctor called Kang Yun out that day, the atmosphere in the mansion was weird. In the past, when the young lady went to the farm, Kaiju would follow her, and Lanner didn't come to the gatehouse to wait. Today, the sun really rose from the west. Lin Miaoxiao sat for a while and stood up to look at Kaiju. Tell you girl that Uncle Lin will come to ask for tea another day. Kaiju stood up and sent Lin Miaoxiao out of the gate of Zhang Mansion. Uncle Lin, don't worry. Miss is fine. She was probably frightened. She will be fine after a few days of rest. Lin Miaoxiao asked, does the mansion have medicine for making tranquilizing soup? Yes, I will cook it myself in a while. Give Miss a bowl before going to bed today. Just as Lin Miaoxiao said, Zhang Shuyu returned to the Zhang mansion a quarter of an hour before dark. The maids and servants in the mansion saw that the emperor came back with him, and there were several guards around him. Everyone came to their senses. It turned out that the emperor had gone to the manor with him. No wonder Gao Mu and Kang Yun came back first. Why didn't you bring Qiuju? Everyone was puzzled, but no one dared to ask. Miss, it's all my fault for frightening you. I hope you will punish me a little to prevent me from being negligent in the future. Yes, it's all my carelessness. Please punish me. When Gao Mu and Kang Yun saw that there were only the emperor and Zhang Shuyu in the flower hall, they knelt down to greet and apologize. Zhang Shuyu quickly pulled the two up from the ground. What did you do wrong? The Sang people hired a foreign woman to the clinic. She had the opportunity to attack when I took her to the backyard for examination. You can't prevent it even if you sit in the clinic. But before Gao Mu finished speaking, Zhang Shiyu interrupted him. No buts, I'm back safe and sound. Your young lady brought poison with her, and you saw it? The criminal fell down soon after inhaling the poison. Don't worry, I know you are all worried about me. You haven't slept well these days. Go down and rest early. Gao Mu and Kang Yun bowed to the two and retreated. After retreating, the two did not really go back to sleep, but patrolled the yard and sat in the garden to stare at Xingye courtyard. Both were worried that the criminals would come back. The dinner was very rich, with steamed pigeon, squirrel mandarin fish, grilled lamb skewers, stir-fried white jade slices, etc. There were 8 dishes in total, including meat and vegetables, and a bowl of bird's nest porridge was cooked for each of them. The young lady did not let Kyoja serve her, so Kyoja went back to her yard to cook a soothing soup. Xiao Jingzhao tested the temperature of the bird's nest porridge and felt that it was just right for eating. He handed it to Zhang Shiyu, drink it while it's hot. You were busy on the road today and didn't rest or eat well on the way. Zhang Shiyu took the bird's nest porridge and said, eat more. You have been tired these days. You don't even know it. You didn't sleep well. Your beautiful eyes are almost turning into rabbit eyes. So Yu Niang likes my eyes. I have to sleep well in the future and keep my eyes beautiful, so as not to lose favor. Xiao Jingzhao was rarely praised by Zhang Shiyu, and his heart was filled with joy. After drinking bird's nest porridge, the two of them were full without eating much food. Zhang Shiyu asked Lanner to take the food away and share it with everyone. The Zhang family has the habit of using public chopsticks when eating, and the food is clean. Even if Zhang Shiyu did not order, the remaining dishes were taken back to the kitchen and shared by everyone. Yu Niang, I will take you back to your room to rest. Xiao Jingzhao put down the handkerchief in his hand and said. You don't have to stay with me tonight. Go back to the palace to accompany your son. Let him take a day off tomorrow. I miss him. Xiao Jingzhao walked over and took Zhang Shiyu's hand and held it in his palm. I listen to you. I will take my son home tomorrow. There are secret guards tonight, so you can sleep peacefully. The two walked into the bedroom hand in hand. Lanner went into the room to help wash up. Xiao Jingzhao did not stay for long and returned to the palace. It was not until Lanner took Zhang Shiyu's changed dress out that Kyoja came in with a bowl of soothing soup. Miss, did that nasty villain scare you? Drink a bowl of soothing soup and have a good sleep. Kyoja had never had a chance to talk to her young lady alone. As soon as she greeted her, tears began to flow. Zhang Shiyu took the bowl and put it aside, then took Kyoja's hand and patted it. Silly girl, your young lady is not afraid of villains, but when she woke up and found coffins all around her, it really made my hair stand on end. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 559. Qiuju heard that her young lady was frightened, and hurriedly suggested, tomorrow I will invite a witch to come to the mansion to perform a ritual to exorcise the evil spirit. Don't invite any witch, they are all liars. Your young lady only felt creepy at the time. I am not afraid when I see Gao Mu and Kang Yun coming. Under Qiuju's questioning, Zhang Shiyu made up a story of escape and told her. Qiuju wiped her tears and sobbed, I will stay with my young lady from now on. I will follow you into the toilet. Zhang Shiyu was amused by Qiuju's words. She stretched out her hand and gently scratched Qiuju's raised nose. Silly Jewer, you don't have to be afraid of the rope for 10 years after being bitten by a snake. The emperor sent secret guards to protect me in secret. Go back to the room and rest. Let this calming soup cool down before drinking. Zhang Shiyu's words were just to comfort Qiuju. She was not a native young lady here, so she naturally didn't need to drink the calming soup. After a day's journey, Zhang Shuyu went into the space to sleep to relieve fatigue. The next day, Xiangyang sent Sushui back to Zhang Mansion early. Sushui hugged Zhang Shuyu's neck and said happily, "Mom, Sushui misses you so much." Zhendix Yoshi said that I don't have to study today, but I can stay at home with you all day. The Zhendix Yoshi mentioned by Sushui is not Zhen Jingzio's grandfather, but Zhen Jingzio's father Zhenshuo. Everyone in the court knows that Zhenshuo will be the real prince's tutor in the future. Kyoju and Lanner took care of the outside affairs, and Zhang Shuyu had a good day with her son. Du Wenru learned that Sushui had returned home and made her best cakes. Looking at the delicate Sushui, Du Wenru was so fond of her that she couldn't let go. She looked at Sushui with her eyes full of pampering, and her eyes were shining with love. Sushui also likes to stick to the young aunt. All departments in the palace are preparing for the emperor's wedding in full swing. All the ministers knew that the emperor's wedding was actually a make-up wedding. The officials' wives were not idle either. Zhang Shuyu was the future queen, so how could they miss the opportunity to show their face in front of the queen? In the days before the wedding, the Zhang mansion was visited by ladies from noble families in the capital almost every day. The emperor and the queen mother hurried back to the capital. As soon as the emperor stepped into the Sinning palace, he couldn't wait to ask, "Is Sushui in the palace today?" "Sushui is in class at the Imperial Academy." "Father, please go to the inner hall and rest. Sushui will be out of school in an hour." "Father, don't worry. Stay in the capital in the future and enjoy the family happiness." Yang He hadn't seen his father for a long time, and he felt bad when he saw the emperor who had lost weight. Yang He led the palace maids and eunuchs to welcome the emperor and the queen mother into the inner hall, and sent the palace maids to the imperial study to pass on the news. In the imperial study, Lin Xiangji was reporting official business to Xiao Jingzhao. After listening, Xiao Jingzhao picked up his pen and continued to review the memorials. Seeing Lin Xiangji sitting aside with no intention of leaving, he raised his sword eyebrows slightly. "Xiangji, do you have anything else to say?" "No, I haven't seen the emperor these days, and I miss him very much. I wonder if the emperor is having fun outside the palace these days." "Who said I went out of the palace to play?" Lin Xiangji turned his head and glanced outside the door, lowered his voice, and said mysteriously, "The emperor dispatched so many Jinyue out of the capital, isn't it to make the beauty smile?" Xiao Jingzhao threw a knife in his eyes. "No, I sent them out to pick up the emperor and the queen mother back to the capital." Tisk tisk tisk. In order to take the beauty out for fun, even the emperor was brought out, and the Jinyue people are back. Why can't I see the emperor and the queen mother? Before Lin Xiangji finished speaking, Ma Gonggong walked in from outside. "Your Majesty, the emperor and the queen mother have returned to the palace. The emperor asked you to come over." "Yes, I got it." Xiao Jingzhao looked at Lin Xiangji with a smile. "I didn't lie to you, you can do whatever you want, I have to go to the Sinning palace." When there was no one else around, Xiao Jingzhao often talked to Lin Xiangji, and Lin Xiangji was used to it. He knew that the emperor was definitely not asking the emperor to come over at this time to play a play of fatherly love and filial piety. He suddenly had an idea. "Your Majesty, the emperor asked you to come over in a hurry, could it be to ask about Sui Sui?" "Think about it again, if there was no one else around, would the emperor praise you or?" Lin Xiangji said the last sentence, and simply kept it a secret. Xiao Jingzhao pondered for a moment. Now that Sui Sui was not around, his father would definitely not be in a good mood when he saw him, and he would scold him for not telling him about Sui Sui's existence earlier. "Xiangji, should there be nothing else to do today?" Xiao Jingzhao cast his eyes on Lin Xiangji. Lin Xiangji smiled like a fox and shook his head. "Your Majesty, don't you see what time it is? I should go home. People should not be used like cattle." Lin Xiangji stood up and pretended to leave. Xiao Jingzhao hurriedly called him. "Wait, the queen mother likes you the most. She will be happy to see you." Come with me to the Sinning Palace to welcome my father and mother. It's not appropriate for me to meet the Emperor and the Queen Mother empty-handed. How about I prepare gifts tomorrow and go to the Sinning Palace to ask for an audience? Lin Xiangji showed an embarrassed expression. What's inappropriate? I asked you to go, so let's go together. Xiao Jingzhao glared at him and strode out of the imperial study. Lin Xiangji suppressed the corners of his lips and followed quickly. Not surprisingly, the emperor glared at Xiao Jingzhao fiercely when he saw him. Meet the emperor. Greetings, Queen Mother. Xiangji hasn't seen you for a long time and misses you so much. With Lin Xiangji making jokes, the retired emperor's expression soon eased a little. The Queen Mother saw that Lin Xiangji's face seemed to be a little paler, and said with concern, official duties are busy. If you are too busy, let your colleagues share more. You, child, why is your face so pale? Lin Xiangji touched his face. Thank you Queen Mother for your concern. Xiangji is not exposed to the wind and sun outside. Your Majesty understands that I am busy with official duties, but not all the time. I can take a day off occasionally. Xiao Jingzhao turned around and glared at him. This guy was obviously making a fuss in front of him. Your Majesty, you and Xiangji grew up together, and your friendship is different from others. Xiangji is a child who was raised by your mother, and he is worthy of your trust. The Queen Mother's words were a reminder to Xiao Jingzhao, reminding him to take good care of Lin Xiangji. Lin Xiangji's little mouth was so sweet that the Empress Dowager couldn't stop laughing. Xiao Jingzhao saw his father looking up from time to time, and winked at Ma Gonggong. Ma Gonggong hurriedly retreated. After a while, Chang'e walked in with Sushui. Grandmother. Sushui let go of Chang'e's hand and ran towards the Empress Dowager, diving into her arms. The Emperor looked at Sushui with his eyes wide open. With a son, Xiao Jingzhao stood up straight in front of his father. Sushui, come and meet the grandfather. Sushui raised his head and timidly called, hello, grandfather. The Emperor realized that his stern face scared the child, and instantly put on a kind smile. Watching his father holding Sushui on his knees, pinching his throat and whispering softly. Xiao Jingzhao's eyes were straight. It turned out that his father also had a gentle side. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 560. Time flies, and the long-awaited wedding day of the emperor has arrived in a blink of an eye. After a heavy snowfall in the capital, the sky soon cleared up. The branches on both sides of the street from Wumen to Jiangfu were tied with red silk, which fluttered in the wind, and it was extremely festive. The streets were full of people from the capital. Everyone was looking forward to it, and they all wanted to witness the grand occasion of the emperor marrying the queen. The Jiangfu was decorated with lights and colorful decorations, and the maids and servants were busy in an orderly manner. Everyone had smiles on their faces, and the whole Jiangfu was filled with a festive atmosphere. Su Huiren, Hu Qing, and the Zhang brothers were busy with various affairs. Madame Su and Du Yutong were responsible for receiving the ladies and young ladies who came to congratulate and add makeup. Seeing her daughter-in-law smiling and treating people calmly and freely, Madame Su was not only full of joy, but also a little guilty. Her daughter-in-law had just got married and had to set up a household in Zhangzhou alone. In a short period of time, she seemed to have become a different person. Mature, steady and capable, Madame Su liked her daughter-in-law the more she looked at her. Seeing her daughter-in-law busy in and out without stopping for a moment, Madame Su went up and pulled her aside, saying gently, Tong you and Ajin just returned to the capital yesterday. You are tired from the journey. You can go to the inner courtyard to rest. Here, mother, your aunt, and Madame Zhen will take care of it. Mom, it's okay. Ajin and I went to bed early last night. Now we are in good spirits. Du Yutong held Madame Su's hand affectionately, smiling, like a caring little cotton-padded jacket. Madame Su couldn't persuade her, so she had to continue to work together. For the emperor's wedding, all civil and military officials only needed to attend the banquet in the palace. In order to get closer to Zhang Shiyu, the officials' wives came to the door to give her dowry gifts. Fortunately, everyone went to the street to watch the ceremony after giving the dowry gifts, otherwise there would be no place to accommodate the guests in the front hall. It's not that the front hall of Jiang's house is not big enough, it's that the front hall and the side hall are full of betrothal gifts. Lin Miaoxiao, Sujin, and Sunan looked at the betrothal gifts in the room and were helpless. Ajin, look at the emperor sending so many betrothal gifts, the front hall and the passage are blocked tightly, and Yu's dowry is still in the inner courtyard. What should we do? Sujin also had a headache. He didn't know what the emperor was thinking. Yesterday, he sent 180 loads of betrothal gifts in one breath, and each load was solid. Sujin thought for a while and said, when the guards arrive, send the betrothal gifts in the front hall out first, and the dowry will go out later. Brother, what you said makes sense. Sister will live in the palace in the future. The betrothal gifts will naturally be sent to the Pepper house together with the dowry. Anyway, they are all in sister's private warehouse. It doesn't matter whether the dowry is left or not. Brother, you and Uncle Lin will be busy first. I will carry sister to the sedan chair. Sunan said and walked quickly to the backyard. In Xingyu courtyard, Zhang Shuhan arrived at Jiang's house early but was completely unable to help. The queen mother specially arranged for the maid to put on makeup for the bride. Sister Zhang, you are so beautiful today, Zhang Shuhan couldn't help but exclaimed after watching the maid put on makeup. All the maids were attracted by the beauty of the bride, and everyone couldn't help but secretly take a second look. Her figure was perfectly outlined in an exquisite and gorgeous shawl. Her hair was meticulously arranged, and the most amazing thing was the phoenix crown, which was hollowed out with exquisite craftsmanship and the gems inlaid on it sparkled. The tassels hanging on both sides added a bit of mystery and charm. The corners of her lips were slightly raised, revealing the joy and reserve of the bride, and the beauty mole between her eyebrows was like a cuckoo crying blood, red without any touch. Her beauty was like a peony, with a national beauty, noble and elegant, and like an epiphyllum, with a subtle fragrance. Zhang Shiyu looked at herself in the bronze mirror, looking radiant. She adjusted the heavy phoenix crown. Kyoja came up to her and whispered in her ear, "Miss, do you think it's too heavy?" "Yes, it's too heavy." Kyoja glanced at the hourglass on the table, "Miss, bear with it, the wedding procession will be here soon." At this time, Sunan's voice came from outside the door, "Sister, the wedding procession is here." A nanny took out a red veil embroidered with gold thread from the tray in the hands of the palace maid. "Madam, prepare to get on the sedan chair." The nanny was respectful. Seeing Zhang Shiyu nodded, she carefully covered the wedding veil. Sunan, who was waiting outside the door, stepped in with a brisk step. Now he was much taller than Zhang Shiyu. He squatted down, "Sister, I'll carry you to the bridal sedan." Zhang Shiyu's eyes were hot, and she leaned over and put her hands on Sunan's shoulders, "If Nan Nan can't carry you anymore, let me get down." Zhang Shiyu was secretly annoyed. If she had known that getting married would tire Sunan, she should have been firm when Xiao Jingzhao picked up food for her. In just a short time, she felt that she had gained weight. "Don't worry, sister, I can carry you." Surrounded by the crowd, Sunan carried Zhang Shiyu out of the inner courtyard. In the hall of Jiang's mansion, the guards sent by the palace were carrying the dowry out. Xiang Song and Xiang Yang were dressed in casual clothes today, riding horses and waiting on both sides of the bridal sedan. In front of the bridal sedan was a ceremonial guard, including drummers. The emperor followed the etiquette of marrying the queen, and the bridal sedan to welcome the bride was decorated with a large phoenix sedan. The phoenix sedan was surrounded by festive decorations, with a long red silk hanging on the top and big red flowers made of red silk hanging on the 4 sedan pillars, which was both solemn and festive. The street opposite the Zhang mansion was crowded with people. When the bride came out, firecrackers rang out, drums and music sounded, and everyone stepped back and stretched their heads to look. The Phoenix sedan was surrounded by red gauze fluttering, and the bride was covered with a veil. Everyone could only vaguely see the graceful figure sitting in the sedan in a gorgeous shawl. A voice said, "Lift the sedan." The Phoenix sedan chair went towards the palace gate. With tears of joy in her eyes, Madame Su whispered to the departing sedan chair, You must be happy." Including the betrothal gifts, the total dowry was 240 loads. The first load just entered the palace gate, and the last load left the Zhang mansion. The 10-mile red dowry made many women envious, and the people watching on both sides of the street were amazed. Everyone could see how much the emperor valued the queen. With the arrival of the sedan chair, the whole palace was immersed in jubilation. The emperor had already stood in front of the cunning palace in a dragon robe waiting. Just as the maid was about to help the bride get off the sedan chair, Xiao Jingzhao walked over in 2 steps. "Yu Niang." He stretched out his hand. Zhang Xiu looked at the affectionate man through the thin veil, and she slowly put her hand into his palm. Amid the sound of drums and music, the two walked into the hall side by side. After entering the palace, the real scholar began to recite the blessing, praying for the gods of heaven and earth to bless the emperor and the queen with happiness and peace. Then the two worshipped heaven and earth. The emperor and the queen mother accepted their kneeling and couldn't wait to signal Ancai to send them to the bridal chamber. After entering the cunning palace, Xiao Jingzhao dismissed all the maids and nannies in the palace. "Yu Niang, you are tired." Xiao Jingzhao couldn't wait to lift the veil. Although he knew how beautiful his bride was, Xiao Jingzhao was still amazed by Zhang Shiyu's beauty today. "Yu Niang, you are so beautiful." Zhang Shiyu glanced at the huge bedroom, and the festive red color was everywhere. She raised her hand to support the heavy phoenix crown on her head. "It's too heavy, my neck is almost broken." "Yu Niang, don't move, I'll help you take off the phoenix crown." Xiao Jingzhao knew that the phoenix crown was heavy, so he didn't let the maids and nannies stay to perform the tedious bridal chamber etiquette. The phoenix crown was removed, and the person in front of him had skin as white as cream and eyes as clear as water, which made him intoxicated at a glance. Xiao Jingzhao took the wedding wine and put it in Zhang Shiyu's hand. "Yu Niang, from today on, you are my wife, the only queen. I have been looking forward to this day for a long time. It is my blessing to be able to fulfill my wish today. I will love you for the rest of my life, until SHH. You are the emperor, and your words are golden. Today is our big day. Let's talk about this life and not the next life." Before Xiao Jingzhao finished speaking, Zhang Shiyu hurriedly pressed his lips with her fingers. The 4 eyes met, full of affection. The two tilted their heads and drank a cup of wedding wine. "Zhao, sui he. Yu Niang, my son is taken care of by my mother and father. Tonight belongs only to you and me," Xiao Jingzhao said, pulling Zhang Shiyu's hand and walking towards the dragon bed. "I don't know if it's because I'm too excited or because I've drunk too much, but Xiao Jingzhao feels like there's a fire in his dantian that's about to swallow up his reason. At this moment, silence is better than words." On the red carpet in front of the dragon couch, the dragon robe and the shawl are entangled in layers. In the bridal chamber, the red candles flicker, the red waves roll, the hibiscus tent is warm for the spring night, the zither and the harp are in harmony all night, the beauty is in his arms, he is reluctant to refuse but also welcomes her. Xiao Jingzhao finally understands the taste of the king not attending the court early from now on. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 561. The next morning, Zhang Xiu opened her eyes and saw a handsome face staring at her. Thinking of the affectionate scene between the two last night, Zhang Xiu's face flushed. "You were a Zhao." They called out almost at the same time. Xiao Jingzhao saw that the person in his arms was shy and hesitant, as if he had something to say. "Is Yu Niang uncomfortable?" Xiao Jingzhao said as his big hand slowly explored from her shoulders. Finally, it stopped at her soft and boneless waist. That hand seemed to have magic power. Just a light stroke made her body tremble slightly, and an inexplicable joy rose in her heart. Zhang Xiu couldn't help but grit her teeth in her heart. Why is this damn body so uncontrollable? She let him do whatever he wanted last night, and now she is still sore all over. Thinking of how well her body had cooperated with him last night, she blushed and said, "The wedding wine tasted a little strange last night. Maybe it's aged, so it's a little strong, but we only drank a few cups, it's okay." A pair of big hands rubbed her waist, and the pleasant feeling made the soreness dissipate a little. Originally, they only drank 1 cup of wedding wine. The two went to the bathroom for the 3rd time last night. When they came out, they found that the palace maids had brought in exquisite dishes while they were bathing. There were also 2 bowls of tenfold boosting soup. The newlyweds didn't eat anything originally, so Xiao Jingzhao wrapped them in a bath towel, held them in his arms and fed them a bowl of tonic soup and some dishes. The two drank several glasses of wine from the same wine glass, and Zhang Xiu collapsed in his arms. In a daze, she didn't even remember how many glasses of wine she was fed. But she was a little puzzled. Why did she feel revived after the two washed up and returned to the tent? Could it be the effect of the bowl of tenfold boosting soup? Feeling that the big hand was not at ease, Zhang Xiu panted and weakly refused. "Zhao, stop making trouble, we still have to go and serve tea to the elders." Xiao Jingzhao looked at her flushed cheeks, lowered his head and kissed the corner of her lips. "Father and mother are not old-fashioned people. It's still early at this time. It's not too late for us to get up after we have a good rest." The warm breath blew in her ears and made her itchy. The brocade quilt on her body slipped off, and the strong chest covered her. Zhang Xiu wanted to curse in her mouth. What kind of rest is this? When she found that her pair of jade arms were wrapped around the other's strong waist, Zhang Xiu simply closed her eyes, regardless of what day it was. "I don't know how long it has been, the big red wedding candles in the bridal chamber are still shining." Xiao Jingzhao saw that the beauty in his arms was sweating. He propped up his upper body, picked up the towel beside the pillow and wiped her gently. Feeling the sticky feeling on her chest disappear, Zhang Xiu felt comfortable and couldn't help but hum. Xiao Jingzhao misunderstood, and when the wind stopped and the rain stopped, he saw the beautiful eyes glaring at him coquettishly. Xiao Jingzhao didn't understand, so he took the exhausted person and rubbed her waist again. "Ah Zhao, didn't the imperial physician tell you that sex should be restrained?" Zhang Xiu felt that she was about to fall apart by him, so she had to speak tactfully. The person in front of her heard this, and her eyes were slightly bent. "My husband is in good health, there is no need to restrain himself. Besides, Yu has invited me frequently, and my husband is also happy to accompany me." "When did I invite?" Before Zhang Xiu finished speaking, a kiss blocked her. "Ah Zhao, don't, there are palace maids outside to serve, it's really time to get up." Zhang Xiu just twisted her body and felt the abnormality of Xiao Jingzhao's body, and hurriedly reminded him. "Well, my husband listens to you and continues tonight." Xiao Jingzhao reluctantly let go of the person in his arms. The two of them had used up all the hot water in the bathroom last night. Seeing Xiao Jingzhao had asked the palace maid to deliver water, Zhang Xiu secretly wondered whether she should tell him about the space. Husband and wife are one, so it is better to tell him. Zhang Xiu had an idea in her mind and would find another opportunity to tell him about the space. 3 days before the wedding, both of them had to live in Cunning Palace. Zhang Shuyu couldn't bear to separate Kaiju and her husband, so she temporarily left her in Zhang Mansion. Lanner and Mayer went directly to the pepper room after entering the palace with the dowry. Zhang Shuyu didn't know any of the palace maids serving in Cunning Palace. The palace maids who served the bath saw the queen's fragrant and jade body. Her skin was like cream, her figure was slender and plump, and she was so beautiful that people dared not look directly at her. They couldn't help but secretly said in their hearts, no wonder the emperor slept until noon and didn't leave the bedroom. Seeing the red strawberry marks on the queen's neck and chest, they couldn't help but complain that the emperor didn't know how to be gentle with women. After the two washed and dressed neatly, Ma Gong brought breakfast with the palace maids. Xiao Jingzhao considerately dismissed the maids and eunuchs who were waiting on him, and personally selected a few dishes she liked for her. A bowl of bird's nest porridge and some palace snacks. Just as Xiao Jingzhao put a crystal shrimp dumpling on her plate, Zhang Shuyu said, "You can't eat so much. Can't you see that I've gained weight?" Xiao Jingzhao looked at her plump chest, coughed lightly, and said seriously, "Well, just right, I like it." Zhang Shuyu glared at him coquettishly, secretly complaining in her heart that men who are stuffy are the most terrible. Seeing her like that, Xiao Jingzhao held back his laughter and stretched out his hand. It's harmful for women to take contraceptive soup. Do you have contraceptive pills for men?" The two agreed that they were not in a hurry to have children, and Zhang Shuyu had already prepared contraceptive pills. With a thought, a white porcelain bottle appeared in her palm. Xiao Jingzhao was shocked and said, "You can take objects from a distance." Zhang Shuyu stuffed the white porcelain bottle into Xiao Jingzhao's hand. "Just take one pill a day, it's harmless to the body, it's not telekinesis. I have a secret, we still have to go to serve tea, I'll tell you in detail another day." Xiao Jingzhao nodded calmly, he felt that she was full of mystery. In the Sinning Palace, the emperor and the queen mother were enjoying the family happiness. Chang'e and Sushui were having a lot of fun in the hall. The emperor and the queen mother watched their little daughter and grandson having fun, and all the dignified etiquette was thrown behind their minds. Grandfather, grandmother, mother, and father, why haven't they come yet? This was the third time Sushui ran to the two and asked. The retired emperor squatted down and held Sui in his arms, saying softly, "You have to call me father and mother from now on." The queen mother looked at Aunt Cai beside her. Aunt Cai avoided her eyes and smiled awkwardly, "Your Highness, please wait a little longer. The emperor and the queen are newly married, so it's inevitable that they will sleep a little longer." "That's not what I meant. The things I asked you to prepare yesterday." Before the queen mother finished her words, Aunt Cai hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Your Highness, everything is ready." Aunt Cai glanced at the retired emperor with a guilty conscience. It was not easy for the queen mother either. In order to make the emperor and the queen have a harmonious bridal chamber, she not only added something to help with the wedding wine, but also used folk tonic soup recipes. She couldn't let the retired emperor know after doing so much. Until a pair of lovers walked in hand outside the main hall, and Cai's hanging heart was put down. She was really afraid that the folk recipe was too strong and the two of them couldn't leave the bedroom. "Father! Mother!" The emperor put Sushui down, and Sushui ran towards Zhang Shuyu. "My dear son, father and mother are going to serve tea to the emperor's grandfather and grandmother, you go play with the emperor's aunt." Xiao Jingzhao was quick-witted and picked up his son when he was still one step away from Zhang Shuyu. Yu Niang was favored last night and worked hard, he couldn't let his son pester her. Warm tea. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 562. 3 days later, Zhang Shuyu moved into Jiaofang Hall. Xiao Jingzhao decided to let Gao Mu and Kang Yun enter the palace and join the Jinyi guards, at Zhang Shuyu's disposal. Zhang Shuyu thought that Lanner and Xuanzi were getting along, so she left Lanner and other servants to take care of Zhang Mansion. Qiuju, Mei and the other maids were all brought into Jiaofang Palace. On the fourth day, a group of people left the capital. In the carriage, Sui Sui snuggled into Zhang Shuyu's arms. He touched his mother's belly with his fleshy little hands and said, "Mother, is this a younger brother or a younger sister?" Zhang Shuyu couldn't laugh or cry when she looked at her son's cute appearance, and looked at Sui Sui with doting eyes. "Now I have no brother or sister. My mother is too busy now and can't take care of them. Let's let the younger brothers and sisters arrive later." Xiao Jingzhao stretched out his hand to hold the mother and son in his arms, and stroked Sushui's little head with one hand. "Don't worry, my younger brothers and sisters will all have it. Azao, I won't give birth to many children. I'm afraid of pain and that my figure will be out of shape," Zhang Shuyu protested. "Okay, let's not have more children. When we get back from the palace, we will decree that our son will be crown prince. With the crown prince, those ministers will have nothing to say. Father, if you become the prince, will I not be able to live in my mother's harem?" Sushui's phoenix eyes were gleaming, and his eyes were full of grievances. "That's natural. Father will arrange for you to live in the East Palace, and the real great bachelor will also go to the East Palace to teach." Seeing Sushui curling her lips, Zhang Shuyu stroked her son's back and said, "After the true Grand Master, he will be the Crown Prince, Grand Master, and there will also be the Crown Prince's tutor and the Crown Prince's protector. The East Palace is your territory, and Shui Sheng can also live in it in the future. Queen Mother, can I invite Shui Sheng back to the capital?" Although the two exchanged letters from time to time, they still missed Shui Sheng year after year. Zhang Shuyu nodded. "Okay, Shui Sheng will come back to the capital and practice martial arts with you." The carriage passed by the post house, rested for a while and then continued to the palace. Xiao Jingzhao spent a lot of effort to trick Sushui into Chang'el's carriage. That night, after Sui Sui fell asleep, the two of them quietly left the bedroom. The night in Yanhui Mountain was really cold, and the two of them walked hand in hand to the attic where they watched the moon on the Mid-Autumn Festival night. Eunuch Ma had already ordered the maid to prepare the charcoal basin in the room. The palace maids were waiting under the attic, and none of them dared to go up without the emperor's orders. The two of them stood at the window and watched the vast night view for a while. Xiao Jingzhao closed the window, put his arms around Zhang Shuyu and said, "I'll have someone bring hot water up for bathing and settling down." "No, Azao, I told you my secret before. I just want to take you in tonight, so don't be surprised." Zhang Shuyu took his hand and approached the bed. The two sat side by side on the edge of the bed. Zhang Shuyu told the origin of the space. She never mentioned modern time travel, it was too weird, and she didn't want to scare him. Xiao Jingzhao listened to her eloquent talk, and he held her hand and tightened it unconsciously, as if he was worried that she would disappear out of thin air and hide in space the next moment. I always knew you had a secret, but I never thought it was your mother-in-law who left you such a magical treasure. Promise me not to tell anyone else about the space, not even my son." Xiao Jingzhao knew what it meant for her to have space. It was a treasure. If someone with intentions knew about it, his queen would be in danger. "Don't worry, Azao. Of course I won't tell anyone else about this." When he was stunned, his body was pulled by a huge gravity, and the scene in front of him changed instantly. Looking at every scene in the space, Xiao Jingzhao was still surprised even though he was mentally prepared. Zhang Shuyu took him for a walk around the space. Xiao Jingzhao asked in disbelief, "Is your space-time different from the outside?" Zhang Shuyu winked at him playfully, "There are many more hours in space than outside." Xiao Jingzhao ignored the heavenly and earthly treasures in the spiritual soil in the space and looked at the hot spring pool. After a while, the two entered the hot spring pool naked. A good bath ended up being a couple playing in the water. After a while, Zhang Shuyu's hand around his neck loosened a little, and she gasped, "Azao, After a long kiss, Xiao Jingzhao walked to the bed in the thatched house while holding the person who was as soft as noodles. Lying on the soft and fragrant bed, Zhang Shuyu really wanted to have a good sleep. Have you seen this? The sound of books turning was heard in her ears. As soon as Zhang Shuyu opened her eyes, her body trembled slightly. It was a fire escape diagram given to her by her aunt. She thought that since they had given birth to a child, this thing was of no use, so she threw it into space. Unexpectedly, he got burned. Xiao Jingzhao turned to the third page and came closer to her eyes, happily saying, let's watch and learn together. No, it won't. As long as your husband is here, you will. The voice of resistance was soft and weak, and it turned out that her resistance was really useless. She didn't know how much time passed, but she looked at the tireless man with blurred eyes. Zhao, Xiao Jingzhao kissed her again. His kiss was full of tenderness, like tasting sweet honey, intoxicating and lingering. He rolled it carefully on her lips, prying open the teeth with his tongue, exploring each other like two snakes entangled together. In less than a moment, Zhang Shuyu fell into his temptation again. Feeling that the person in his arms was attracted by him again, he was like a wild horse without reins on the grassland, letting Mercedes go. That night, Zhang Shuyu couldn't remember how many times he carried her into the hot spring pool to purify herself. She vaguely remembered that the last time they soaked in the hot spring pool for a long time. She was so sleepy that she didn't know when he carried her to the bed. The next day, when Zhang Shuyu woke up, there was no one beside her, and Xiao Jingzhao was nowhere to be seen. She held her waist and sat up. Strangely, after tossing for a long time last night, her waist was not as sore as before. She put on her pajamas and walked out of the room, and saw Xiao Jingzhao holding a wooden stick as a sword to practice swordsmanship. Seeing Zhang Shuyu coming out, he put down the wooden stick and greeted her. Your space is really magical. I feel refreshed and not tired at all, Xiao Jingzhao said, stretching out his hand to hold her waist. Zhang Shuyu stared at him with a vigilant look. Don't let Lanner and the palace maids think we are weird. Let's go out and get some water to wash. This time when she came to the palace, Zhang Shuyu didn't bring Kyoju. Kyoju's period had not come yet, and she couldn't take her pulse for early pregnancy. She suspected that Kyoju was pregnant, so she let her rest. Xiao Jingzhao lowered his head and placed a kiss on her forehead. His magnetic voice was extremely bewitching. The time in the space is much longer. Should we take another nap before going out? How could Zhang Shuyu not know what he was thinking? She stretched out her arms and hugged his waist. With a thought, the two of them appeared in the attic bedroom. The Emperor's dragon body is important. Some things should be restrained, Zhang Shuyu advised seriously. Xiao Jingzhao looked at the little woman who was about to explode with his eyes full of pampering. He had to put away his desire and asked the palace maid to bring hot water. There was already some snow on the top of Yanhui Mountain in early winter. On the mountainside, the maple leaves all over the mountain were as red as flames. They had already changed from tender yellow to deep red. A gust of wind blew, and the fiery red leaves fell from the branches, like beautiful butterflies flying in the air. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 563. In just a few days, the news of the emperor's wedding spread throughout Wanling. At this time, a prostitute's escape was being staged in a county town nearly 1,000 miles away from the capital. It was just dawn, and the brothel girl saw that the guest next to her was sleeping soundly, so she quietly put on her clothes and got out of bed. She bent down and took out the bundle that had been prepared long ago from under the bed, and turned her head to look at the ugly man in the red tent. The brothel girl was none other than Zhang Jiaoqiao, who left the capital with the rich businessman surnamed Yang. The newly recognized cousin took good care of her along the way and promised to send her to where she wanted to go. On the third day after leaving the capital, the so-called cousin said that he was going to deliver goods to the south and would not pass by Anlu County where her father worked for the time being. After unloading the goods, he would take a detour to send her to Anlu County. The cousin also told her that it was far to Anlu County and it was not peaceful along the way. Zhang Jiaojiao did not have much silver and money, so she could only continue to move forward with the caravan. A few days later, when they passed by a small town, the innkeeper said that there was only one room besides the big bunk bed. The big bunk bed was full of peddlers and hawkers, and it was stinking and full of men. Zhang Jiaojiao didn't dare to sleep on the big bunk bed. The cousin immediately confessed to her, saying how much he liked her and praised Zhang Jiaojiao. He said that as long as Zhang Jiaojiao was willing, he would divorce his wife and marry her as his principal wife. Zhang Jiaojiao was originally like a lonely boat drifting on the sea, without support. She was like a drowning person, and the cousin's promise was like someone handing her a life-saving wood, and she hugged it tightly without hesitation. That night she committed herself to the man, and after a night of spring wind and rain, Zhang Jiaojiao knew in her heart that this man was her only hope of turning over. She tried her best to please the man, even in the bumpy carriage when she was on the road. She let the cousin do whatever he wanted. Along the way, the cousin treated her very well, coaxing her with good food and drink. However, the good times didn't last long. The cousin's novelty towards her soon disappeared, and he even asked her to serve the brothers in the caravan. At first, she strongly opposed it, and she didn't know when her bag disappeared. She realized that she had fallen into the trap of the cousin. She was a weak woman, penniless, and had no relatives. She realized that people had to bow their heads under the eaves. From sharing a room with her cousin to sleeping on a big bunk bed. The bunk bed was stinking, snoring at night, rats and cockroaches crawling over her head at night, rustling and making goosebumps all over her body. She was so scared that she couldn't sleep all night. After a few days, she cried and begged the cousin to give her some money for the journey because she had served him all the way, so that she could go to Anlu County to reunite with her family. "Sister, why are you in such a hurry? We can send you to Anlu County after we sell the goods. These goods of mine are used to support the families of the brothers. If you want to save more money, wash the clothes of the brothers every day. This can also be regarded as an additional income." Zhang Jiaojiao had no choice but to take over all the dirty work in the caravan. Zhang Jiaojiao lived by counting copper coins every day. No matter how she counted, the money was never enough. She wanted to serve her cousin to get more money. The cousin got another virgin from somewhere, and she had no chance to get close to him. From early spring to late summer, Zhang Jiaojiao saved several taels of silver, but the caravan went further and further away, and the silver in her hand was still out of reach. When the caravan sold the goods in the south, those people had money in their hands, and many of them lost interest in Zhang Jiaojiao and were willing to pay a high price to visit the brothels beside the official road. The caravan bought the goods in the south and headed back, one morning after the beginning of autumn. Zhang Jiaojiao woke up and found herself lying in a woodshed. The bag beside her disappeared again, and what greeted her was the warning of the pimp and the intimidation of the madam. The cheap brothel didn't need her to know any music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. No matter how she boasted about her music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, the madam didn't even look at her, and asked her to wash and dress up to receive customers. The brothel was not far from the official road, and the people coming and going were all hard laborers and gangsters. Zhang Jiaojiao was miserable. She used to live a life of luxury, but now she was being ravaged by the low-class people she looked down on. After winter, she was so angry that she bit her silver teeth when she learned about the emperor's wedding with Zhang Shiyu. Zhang Jiaojiao learned that two pimps fell ill in the building yesterday, and she thought that today was a good time to escape. She didn't want to stay in this dirty place. She saw with her own eyes how miserable the sisters in the brothel were when they died of syphilis. She wanted to find her father and ask him to go back to the capital to ask the queen. As long as her father was recognized as the father-in-law of the emperor, she still had the hope of marrying a rich man. Zhang Jiaojiao looked back and saw a purse next to the man's pillow. This place was still far away from Anlu County. If she had no money, she could only beg along the way. A woman without money could fall into the clutches of others at any time. She gritted her teeth and reached for the purse. Unexpectedly, the purse was half pressed under the pillow by the man. With this force, the man woke up instantly. "What are you doing, you bitch?" The man sat up suddenly and glared. Zhang Jiaojiao was so scared that her soul flew away. There were rules in the building. If you stole the money of the guests, you would be severely punished by the pimp. She quickly threw the bag in her hand to the ground and said with a smile, "I was going to wash clothes, and when I saw that your cloth bag was dirty, I thought of helping you wash it. You have to travel after lunch, so you don't need to wash it." The man didn't suspect that she wanted to steal his purse, and reached out to grab Zhang Jiaojiao's arm. "I paid for the night, you have to serve me until noon." The ugly man stared at the faint ravine under Zhang Jiaojiao's thin gauze with his lustful eyes. "Master, I'm here, ah." Before Zhang Jiaojiao could climb onto the bed, the man pulled her down with his big hand, and her knees hit the edge of the bed heavily. Before she could recover from the pain, the man roughly pulled off her underwear and pressed hard. "Master, it hurts, my knees hurt." The man didn't care whether she was in pain or not. He paid for sex and just wanted to vent his lust. Zhang Jiaojiao lay on the bed with her waist bent, and sweat dripped down her forehead in pain. She was extremely anxious. If the man pestered her for too long, she would have no chance to escape. After about a cup of tea, the man vented his lust and pinched her round buttocks before pushing her away. "Wait on the bed. I'll come back after I go to the toilet." The man was strong and muscular, and Zhang Jiaojiao was tormented by him for half the night last night. She was exhausted physically and mentally, and she shuddered when she thought that it was still a few hours before noon. The toilet was on the first floor, and Zhang Jiaojiao estimated that the man would not be back for a while, so she got up and dressed as quickly as possible. She didn't care about the injury on her knee. She got out of bed, picked up her bag, and tiptoed downstairs. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 564. At this time, most of the girls in the building were still asleep. Passing by a room where there were guests staying overnight, there was a man's heavy breathing. Zhang Jiaojiao took off her shoes and held them in her hand, quickening her pace to go downstairs. When she walked downstairs, the night watchman was not in the lobby on the first floor. The front and back doors were locked from the inside, and Zhang Jiaojiao had already watched the road. To escape, the only way was to go out through the window of a bathroom at the back. There was a window that could be pushed open from the inside. The window was not big, and people with a slightly fat body could not get out. Zhang Jiaojiao had been tortured for nearly a year since she left the capital. She had already lost a whole circle of weight. She closed the door and opened the window. First, she threw the bag out, and then climbed onto the windowsill with her hands and feet. Her head and neck stretched out smoothly, and she was overjoyed to see that there was no one in the bamboo forest behind. Great, she was finally going to escape from this devil's cave. Just when she was overjoyed, she found that her breasts were too big and were stuck. The place that she used to be proud of, now she wanted to cut it with a knife. She didn't care about the pain, moved her head back a little, stretched out an arm, and tried to go out sideways. Seeing that her upper body finally squeezed out little by little, Suddenly there was a piercing sound, and the thin gauze on her chest was torn open. It took a lot of effort to get out, and the morning breeze blew, and Zhang Jiaojiao shivered. In order to make them show their figures and seduce men, the mothers in the building gave them thin and transparent dresses that were looming. There was a charcoal basin in the building, so she didn't feel cold. When she came out, her clothes seemed out of place in the season. Seeing that the morning mist gradually dissipated, Zhang Jiaojiao didn't care about the cold, grabbed the bag on the ground and ran to the path outside the bamboo forest. At the other end, the man came out of the toilet and walked upstairs in a swagger. As he walked, he recalled the taste of the woman. In this brothel, the woman was pretty, especially her towering breasts, which made him dry his mouth. He spent a whole tael of silver, and he had to enjoy it before he stopped. When the man returned to the house with great interest, he was dumbfounded. There was no trace of the woman on the bed. "Quick, come quickly, the girl in your building ran away." The man shouted and called everyone in the building. Who ran away?" "It was Miss Jiaojiao who ran away." A girl recognized the man who stayed in Zhang Jiaojiao's room at a glance. "Quick, look where she ran from." The madam didn't even put on her clothes, she grabbed a thin coat and ran downstairs. The two pimps who were infected with the cold heard that someone had run away, and they didn't care about the discomfort all over their bodies, and they rolled out of the house. The madam ran downstairs to check quickly and saw that the door of the bathroom was closed. He raised his foot and kicked the bathroom door. The wooden door was bolted from the inside. The madam was too weak and the door creaked but did not budge. The two men went to the front door. The man who stayed overnight quickly put on his coat and ran downstairs. Seeing that the madam could not kick the door open, he asked, "Is someone hiding inside?" Seeing that the man was tall and strong, the madam quickly stepped aside and said, "The whore is silent. Help me catch her. As long as I catch her, I will let her serve you for 3 days without paying a penny." The man was overjoyed when he heard this. He had nothing important to do anyway, so what was wrong with staying for 3 more days? The man kicked hard and the door opened with a loud bang. "Chase her quickly." The whore jumped out of the window and escaped. "Does mom keep her word?" the man asked the madam after glancing at the back window. The madam nodded hurriedly and said without thinking, "It counts. A gentleman's word is as good as a promise. It counts absolutely." The man looked out of the window and saw that the dead leaves on the ground had been stepped on. The man identified the direction and asked the pimp to open the back door. Everyone saw that the man was walking briskly and soon disappeared beside the bamboo forest. Zhang Jiaojiao looked back while running. Seeing that no one was chasing her, she lifted her skirt and ran towards the official road. She thought that as long as she ran onto the official road and met a passing carriage, she would be saved. On the way to the official road, she would pass by a street where a breakfast shop was open for business. Seeing Zhang Jiaojiao's dress, she was recognized as a prostitute in the building at a glance. No one wanted to meddle in other people's business, so everyone watched her running all the way. After a while, the man caught up with her along the road. The man stopped at the crossroads, walked to the door of the bun shop and asked the shopkeeper, "Excuse me, shopkeeper, have you seen a woman in a pink gauze skirt passing by?" The bun shop owner saw the man's ferocious look and raised his finger to point in the direction where Zhang Jiaojiao ran away. "Thank you." The man clasped his fists and continued to chase her. When he chased to the official road, the man saw Zhang Jiaojiao reaching out to stop a passing carriage from a distance. "Sir, please take me a ride," Zhang Jiaojiao almost begged. The coachman looked at her with contempt. "Which building did you run from? Get out of the way. We don't want to get involved in a lawsuit." "Sir, I am a rich lady, not a girl from the building. I was kidnapped here by robbers." Zhang Jiaojiao reached out and grabbed the shaft of the carriage and refused to let go. The curtain of the carriage was opened, and a man inside said with a stern face, "Get out of here, it's bad luck, you can fool a ghost with this, who would become a prostitute. My father is. Zhang Jiaojiao wanted to say her father's name, but she thought that this place was far away from the capital, and no one would know who her father was. My elder sister is the queen, the current queen. If you don't believe me, you can send me to the capital, and my elder sister will definitely reward you handsomely. Nonsense, I happen to know the queen's family, you whore, don't throw dirty water on Lord Su's family. The man's disgusted eyes made Zhang Jiaojiao shudder. Yes, with her appearance, who would believe that she is the queen's half-sister? The driver waved the whip in his hand and was about to whip her. Zhang Jiaojiao quickly let go and watched the carriage rushing away from her. She gritted her teeth, lifted her skirt and ran forward again. Before she ran a few steps, a big hand came from behind. When she saw clearly that the man who came was the man who had sex with her last night, she had already been carried on the man's shoulders. Master, please let me go, I am the queen's sister. Zhang Jiaojiao repeated the words of pleading. The man grinned and said, I am the queen's brother-in-law. You can only lie to a 3-year-old child with such nonsense. Come back with me and serve me well. I may redeem you if I am happy. The man's arms were like iron hoops, and Zhang Jiaojiao could not move at all. Back to the brothel, before she could stand firmly, the madam slapped her in the face. You bitch, I spent 200 taels of silver to buy you. I fed you well, and I also nurtured your ambition. Mom, I was confused for a while. I heard that my elder sister entered the palace and became the queen, so I thought about returning to Beijing. Please let me go. I am willing to give you 10 times or 100 times the silver, just please let me go back to Beijing. Zhang Jiaojiao cried bitterly and knelt down to beg for mercy. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 565. Come here, give me a slap. She is related to the queen. If this word gets out, I will not be able to continue this business. Mr. Gui rolled up his sleeves and was about to take action. The man stepped forward and said, Wait a minute, this little lady has to serve you for 3 more days. If she breaks her, I won't be interested anymore. The madam was stunned for a moment, then put on a smile and said, You are right, that is. Why don't you go up and wait on the guests? I will punish you in 3 days. Zhang Jiaojiao once again realized what it means to call the sky and the earth to be unresponsive. She wiped away her tears and stood up, her vision went dark and she fainted. The old bastard told Mr. Turtle, Get her upstairs. As long as she is still breathing, she has to serve the guests for me. Don't bother Mom, just leave this person to me. The man bent down and picked the person up with one hand, just like carrying a chicken, and carried the person upstairs effortlessly. When Zhang Jiaojiao woke up again, she found herself naked. The man on her body was extremely excited and looked like he was going to eat her alive. Master, please take me away, I really am. Zhang Jiao was as delicate as a silk thread, her words incoherent. The man exerted force on his waist, raised his head and let out a jeering laugh. The hairpin on Zhang Jiaojiao's head was missing, and her hair spread out, covering half of her face. Hearing the man's laughter, the hairs on Zhang Jiaojiao's body stood up. After a moment, the man stopped, leaned over, pinched her chin and moved it left and right. Yes, her skin is delicate and her accent is from the capital. She sounds like she is from the capital. Zhang Jiaojiao was so sick that she almost vomited when she saw the man's yellow teeth so close to her. She suppressed her nausea and said, I am really the queen's sister. My father is the magistrate of Anla County. As long as you take me away, I will give you a lot of money. Zhang Jiaojiao just wants to leave this dirty place and work hard to make the man happy. Hey, I can sleep with all the ladies in the capital, so it's worth delaying me for 3 days. The man squeezed her chest hard with one hand, lowered his head and kissed her on the mouth. Zhang Jiaojiao almost fainted from the bad smell in his mouth. Just as she was about to plead again, the man came close to her ear and lowered his voice, "I actually believe what you say. If I take you back to the capital, do you think the queen will reward me or kill me?" Zhang Jiaojiao was shocked by the man's words. Yes, her existence is to discredit the queen. If she returns to the capital and complains in front of the palace gate, the emperor will definitely make her disappear, including the person who sent her to the capital. Seeing her expression, the man believed that what this woman said was true. He is a rough guy who travels around the world. He usually doesn't have a chance to say a word to the rich lady. Now that the rich lady has become his crotch plaything, how can he waste this great opportunity? For 3 whole days, the man bought some fun medicine from Mr. Turtle. Apart from eating, he spent the rest of the time having fun with the door closed. Zhang Jiaojiao was unable to escape and had no hope of seeking help. In order not to be punished by the madam, she docilely catered to the guests. 3 days later, the man was so satisfied with her service that he begged the madam for her favor and said that he would come to her whenever he passed by. The madam promised that he would not punish her. After the man left, the madam's eyes darkened. She is well informed, and Zhang Jiaojiao is definitely not a girl raised by a poor family, with her thin skin and tender flesh. Moreover, the woman was sold into the house after being knocked unconscious. She spoke with a Beijing accent, and the madam was excited when she thought of this. Selling relatives of the emperor and the country is not enough to destroy the 9 clans. This woman must not be allowed to leave here. The madam immediately asked someone to give Zhang Jiaojiao a bowl of mute medicine. To be on the safe side, the madam specially asked the old man who often treated brothel girls to come over and check whether she was really mute. The old man touched Zhang Jiaojiao here and there in front of the madam. Finally, he looked at the woman who was babbling in her mouth and said, "My medicine is foolproof. She can't speak a word in her life. I also have another happy event. Congratulations to the landlady. This woman is injured and can't give birth to a child. He's a good pickup guy." Seeing the greedy look on the old man's face, the old bastard rolled his eyes and said, "To be honest, Miss Jiaojiao is a down-and-out daughter. If you don't mind, today's consultation will be." The old madam raised her eyebrows at the old doctor. The old doctor immediately understood and said with a smile, "Thank you very much, boss lady. Seeing that she is still clean, I will reluctantly enjoy it for once. This will save me the trouble of checking the bank account." Zhang Jiaojiao instantly collapsed on the bed, feeling regretful in her heart. At this moment, she believed that there was retribution in the world. It didn't matter if she regretted it in the first place. She was destined to die in this mire in her life. Zhang Jiaojiao heard the sound of closing the door in her ears. Her heart was filled with despair. Tears fell from the corners of her eyes. She lay motionless on the bed and allowed the old man to mess with her. The madam was very shrewd and knew how to pull off stunts. It didn't take long for the regular customers around to know that there was a down-and-out daughter in the brothel. Everyone rushed to kiss Fangs, even the shopkeeper of the bun shop came to satisfy his curiosity. For a while, Zhang Jiaojiao's room was full of patrons. Less than 5 years later, she contracted a heart disease and died. The news came back to the capital many years later. The palace cannot be separated from the king, so Xiao Jingzhao and Zhang Shiyu stayed in Yanhui Mountain for a few days before returning to the capital. The first thing he did when he returned was to issue an edict to establish the crown prince. The Supreme Emperor and the Empress Dowager personally participated in the ceremony of establishing the crown prince, and then moved into the East Palace before leaving the capital and returning to Yan'an. Xiao Jingzhao gave Fugui to Sushui and made him the eunuch close to the prince. Gao Mu and Ken Yun were responsible for the safety of the Eastern Palace and often taught the prince martial arts. Sushui asked Fugui to clean up a room for Shui Sheng and waited for him to return. When the emperor and the queen mother left, they said to Xiao Jingzhao, I don't know when my father and mother will return to the capital. Yang He's marriage has been decided. You and the queen will clean up the princess's mansion and ask Master Huiwen to choose an auspicious day to notify us to return to the capital. Mother, who has the emperor's sister decided on? The queen mother glared at him as if he was a fool. You spend all day in the pepper room except for government affairs. You don't even know that your emperor's sister's marriage has been decided. Xiao Jingzhao was confused. Did the queen mother imply that he was blaming him for being too addicted to the gentle world? After seeing off his father and mother, Xiao Jingzhao walked quickly towards the imperial study. Your Majesty. No, from now on, I should call Yang He my brother. Outside the imperial study, Lin Xiangji saw Xiao Jingzhao walking back quickly and greeted him with a smile on his face. You, okay, good job. Xiao Jingzhao bit his back teeth and glared at Lin Xiangji fiercely. Your Majesty, don't be like this. I will treat Yang He well and hold her in my hands as a treasure in the future. Lin Xiangji smiled guiltily and followed Xiao Jingzhao into the imperial study. When did you start thinking about that? Xiao Jingzhao's face was almost dripping with ink. He treated this guy as a brother, but he didn't expect that the other party treated him as his elder brother-in-law. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix.